This week, we are all about the world of tanks. We head to Warsaw, Poland for the Wargaming League Grand Finals, chat to teams and developers, and then pay a visit to the Australian Armour and Artillery Museum to visit a very special vehicle. This is Player Attack. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this week we're starting off with some sad news. Despite all the rumours and all the crossed fingers, the servers for Fable Legends have officially been turned off ahead of Microsoft closing down developer Lionhead Studios. Despite being announced more than 3 years ago, Fable Legends never made it past the closed beta stage, meaning only a small handful of gamers were able to get their hands on the asymmetrical heroes versus villains gameplay. Now, it looks like they might be the only ones to ever play it, unless certain rumours jump to fruition, which might see Lionhead continuing to work on the game outside of Microsoft's umbrella. Stranger things have happened. This week also saw the rebirth of a game that many people believed had shuffled off this mortal coil, Suda51's PS4 exclusive Let It Die. First announced as Lily Bergamo, this one had been virtually silent since E3 2 years ago, but the cult Japanese developer has come out to confirm the game is still in development and it's being shown off at PAX East. The asynchronous free-to-play experience is due out later this year. And while we're talking about new games out this year, Activision has confirmed a new Ghostbusters game is due out alongside the new film, but don't call it a tie-in. The new game will not feature any of the new characters. It also won't feature any of the classic characters either. Instead, the game will focus on a new rookie foursome who are left to look after New York City while our current heroes are off saving the world. You can expect third-person action with RPG elements and local co-op. Each character has their own personality traits and playstyle, and you will be defeating spectres, finding collectibles, and completing objectives when this one launches in July. Another new game, and this one's out now in early access, Out of Ammo, the brand new one from DayZ creator Dean Rocket Hall. It's been designed exclusively for HTC Vive, that is Steam VR, and it puts you in the commander's seat facing off wave upon wave of soldiers. Like all good VR experiences, you'll use motion tracking to move around, and the team at Rocketworks has had some fun with physics. There are 5 different units and 4 different environment types at present. Obviously the game's not finished yet, but if you want it and you have the right hardware, hop on Steam now and snap it up. But wait, there is big news from the world of VR, and this one's not focused entirely on the games. An enterprising young programmer has been working hard on a secret project, a proof of concept that will run Oculus Rift exclusive games directly on the much cheaper HTC Vive. It's not perfect at the moment, but Cross VR is definitely working. So if you want to play games like Lucky's Tale and aren't afraid of patching your own software, it looks like you might not need the Oculus headset after all. Did you miss the Dark Souls 3 April Fool's gag this year? We were given a teaser for an incredible looking Dark Souls movie set to raise some hell on VHS. While unfortunately the movie doesn't really exist, the team at Bandai Namco heard the fan response and has given us the next best thing, beautiful retro covers for the game which you can print at home and slide right into your case. In quick news, if you've ever wanted your name written among the stars, Paradox Interactive can get you one step closer to your goal. Pre-order new sci-fi strategy game Stellaris, and not only will you snag a bag full of awesome stuff, including ringtones and message alert sounds, you will also have your name launched into the stratosphere via weather balloon. A new report has revealed that 40% of Minecraft players are women. While you're recovering from that bombshell, here's some more. For a game that seems to be dominated by children, the average age of a Minecraft player is between 28 and 29 years old. And there sure are a lot of 30-somethings playing the game. More than 5 years after release, Minecraft is still selling around 10,000 units every single day. And speaking of things that are ridiculously popular, this week was the 15th anniversary of the Animal Crossing series. The first game, Dobutsu no Mori, or Animal Forest, launched in Japan on April 14, 2001, with the Western localization arriving in the US 2 years later. These days, there are 4 official Animal Crossing games across 4 different platforms: the GameCube, the original DS, the Wii, and 3DS. Plus, there's a movie, a handful of spin-off games and apps, and feature levels in games like Super Smash Bros. And Mario Kart. The franchise has sold more than 26 million copies worldwide, and here's to another 15 years. And finally, 2 bits of movie news. Bear with me on this one. The Warcraft movie, which ties into the video game, is due out later this year. Now there's a book which ties into the movie, which ties into the game. Warcraft Bonds of Brotherhood is the official graphic prequel to the Warcraft movie, written by Doctor Who writer Paul Cornell and Blizzard's Chris Metzen, with illustrations from Matt Broom. It's set decades before the events of the film and focuses on the three main characters, Elaine, Lothar and Medivh, as they embark on a mission of vengeance. But if you like your gamings with a little more ownage, this is the one for you. The Pure Ownage movie, the official continuation of the long-running web series, is coming to a small screen near you. Jeremy and Kyle have toured around the place and shown off their handiwork in multiple theatres, but now it's your turn. The film will officially launch online on May 7th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 5 a.m. Sunday, May 8th on the east coast of Australia, 3 a.m. on the Australian west coast, and 7 a.m. Sunday in New Zealand. The movie will be made available at that precise moment so that everybody can hang out in a chat room and watch at the same time. It's just like a virtual cinema, but you will need to bring your own popcorn. For more information on any of these stories, or to keep up to date with the latest gaming news, head to playerattack.com. But for now, stick around, we've got plenty more still to come.
Everybody loves World of Tanks.
It's one of the best tank games on the market, and it was pretty much the first, so...
My friends call me and say, oh, it's a new game, it's really new, not like Warcraft or some Dota, it's real, it's tanks.
Learn from the good players and just keep getting better until you're at that level. That's all you can do, and have fun.
You come home and you just play in World of Tanks. It's very simple.
This is sports. This is virtual sport. This is esports. Everyone can participate. You and I, we will never be Ronaldo or Pele, right? In football, we know that. But you and I, we can put together a team and still have a chance after a year or two to be on the stage like at the grand final.
All the men want to play is tanks.
Warsaw, a beautiful city that is literally a smorgasbord of living history. But for this weekend, the city was only interested in one facet of its past, the military, and more specifically, tanks. This was the third Wargaming League World of Tanks Grand Final, again held in Warsaw. But this year saw the tournament shift to a new, bigger venue, Tor War Hall.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and of course, Dzień dobry, Warsaw!
Yeah, Navi holding fast, but they are going to push in, but Apar gets cancelled.
Yeah, so Monty trying to pull some sick donuts down the hill and distract some attention maybe, but I don't think that's going to work.
From what I've seen here at the Grand Finals, everybody's having a fantastic time. The crowd's into it, the players are into it. How are you finding it?
Well, you can imagine I spend most of my time in this room. Here you feel this energy. Here you feel this, it's a show. It's a good show. It's sports. It's competitive. It's fun. It brings happiness. You see smiles on the faces, and I'm smiling here all the time. So this is a great kind of culmination of our season 2015-2016. And the only thing missing is I don't know who wins.
Currently we have more than 500,000 players who are playing in like different tournaments, totally like 850,000 of players playing in the all the competitive modes, like the strongholds, like the global map and the tournaments. So altogether it's a huge amount of people. And of course from these players we've got the super pros who are having this not only as a professional hobby, but some of the people are starting to take it as a professional. So 3 years ago we started our Wargaming League, and this is the third Grand Finals right now, where we are actually developing it step by step, growing it, having every year having the bigger venue, the bigger amount of people watching both on site and online. So currently we've got the broadcasting of using the Twitch, YouTube, Hitbox, Facebook, some Nico and some other Chinese services. So it's huge right now.
They've had enough
of that lovely little story we all had in our heads and hearts, that maybe Eclipse could do the damage again, but so far Tornado Rocks are bored of that story and they want to ride their own. Already Vorsic looking for more positive as well going in, but it's the Armageddon to find more, leaving Dark God Zim on the run and not very quickly either.
And that massive audience was not disappointed, with tank-based thrills and spills starting from the very first preliminary game of day one. The first day of the tournament saw teams fighting in their separate 3-team brackets to avoid elimination and continue on to the quarterfinals. Those preliminary matchups range from anybody game situations to games that already have perceived winners going in. However, one of the brackets everybody wrote off as a foregone conclusion caused the biggest upset, with last year's second place winners and APAC representatives EL Gaming being knocked out by 2 much lower seeded teams, and adding insult to injury, one of them was a wildcard entry.
What? That was sick, Levanta.
Of course, like, we understand that players are very important, but in case when you organize some league, they are starting to be like the employees of the league. And we are all working for the audience, for the viewers.
It's changed quite drastically this year because you've switched to tier 10 tanks. How has that changed the flow of the game?
From the beginning it was quite hard because the approximately 50% of the teams that were like against it. And we had the tests, making it globally, having the broadcasting of the tests, showing it to the community, and actually all together deciding with the community, with the players, with the game designers, developers. All together we understand that the current format is the best for right now. So 768 with the tier 10, it's like the best solution right now. Is we've got the tier 10s playing together with a huge variety of tanks, plus we've got even the artillery, which was like impossible within 2 years. But now it's good, and I can tell you that the first results are very good. As if we compare the season 1 and season 2, we've got the 50% of growth in audience. So people are really like, the amount of people is growing, and at the same time we've got the growth of time they are watching. So it's also like from 50 to 60% the time growth. So it's like the good signal from the audience that they are really liking it.
And like that, the stage was set for day 2 and the road to the cup.
This is going to be the commitment, and Kazakh found that they will be able to get the first kill.
They're going to get it. Eurofish is there, and now it's down to a 1v2, and it looks like Tigers is all but out of this, and Nexus is going in for the kill. He's got one more shell to make. He's going to get the job done, and he gets it!
So with esports getting larger and larger now, what do you want to see in the future for the sport?
Киберспорт развивается очень быстрыми темпами.
Definitely esports is getting bigger and bigger, and what I expect from World of Tanks is to become more popular in terms of players, people who watch it. I'd really love to see more fans coming to our tournaments. I'd love to see more tournaments happening as in such games as Counter-Strike, Dota, and so on.
Tornado Rocks are not sitting back at all. They're going to take the fight. Lotho very low, but it's Applewell to find the Armageddon. And it is Hellraisers just going leaps and bounds ahead. Vorsic is your last man alive, and Hellraisers, the previous champions, are going to stay alive in this one. Vorsic
We're not the best esports company in the world. League of Legends by far is doing much better numbers, etc. They started earlier. They're more tweaked to be esports, like in its twitchy kind of way. A couple of months ago I went to Berlin to League of Legends Grand Finals. They rented out Mercedes-Benz, like huge sports arena with, I don't know, a couple of dozens of thousands of people. It was mind-blowing, fascinating. And guess what? We're so happy to see their success and success of other esports disciplines, because this is a whole new media, and there's a whole wave which will soon be, like tsunami, overtaking some forms of entertainment and some classical sports. So each company, each game tries to do little tricks, bells and whistles. In our case, because we are photorealistic, historically kind of accurate game with real machines, explosions, terrain. So the viewership mode for World of Tanks is really, it's like you're watching Steven Spielberg's whatever, Saving Private Ryan or Star Wars kind of production values.
It takes a lot of hard work to get to that level at which you're playing professionally, but you really just got to stick at it.
I won't compare with other players, with other teams, that I can be better than they.
We think that esports is a new way to express the spirit of sports.
And what draws you to esports?
The money.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
One of the things you guys have done really well is making it fun to watch, which a lot of esports don't really have at the moment. They're very player focused. And one of the things you guys are debuting today, actually right now as we're talking, is the World of Warships competitive play. What can we expect from that?
So this is like how the things should be done actually when you trying to find out how the game is in the world, like in the competitive world. Like we'll get some feedback from the audience, we'll get the feedback from the players, from the audience on site. So altogether it will gives us like the opportunity to predict how it will be with the World of Warships in future in terms of esports and competitive play.
He stopped himself to try and avoid it. Jingle, massive hit into Jingles. I think he probably said oh dear there, but perhaps not as polite as that.
Day 2 saw the stage set for the titans of the game to clash head to head, with the bested teams being eliminated and the winners moving inches closer to the finals and the cup. And this was where the Russian juggernaut Na'Vi and the skilled Europeans Wombats on Tanks showed their teeth, going 5-0 in their representative games, with highlight plays like perfectly executed pincer moves and one-shot arty strikes.
Before we go any further, Wombats. We're Australian, we have Wombats. Why are you called Wombats?
It's just our fun inside the team. One of our teammates finds this animal. He showed it for us, like, hey, it's funny. And after we leave Virtus Pro, we start find some names, ask our fans about, guys, help us. No one don't propose for us nothing interesting, and we decide, okay, we'll be Wombats.
But last year's winners weren't written off just yet, with Hellraisers fighting tooth and nail to progress.
Try and get into more safe position, and Levanta's got some great angles onto these two. He could do some serious damage.
This could hurt. The shot's going to come out in just a second. I don't know if Hellraisers are ready for it. It's coming in. That's a big hit.
Being super serious now, if you could be any tank, which tank would you be and why?
I'm sure I'd be SE4 tank, because I prefer playing huge tanks and moving like a huge tank.
Oh, it's very difficult, very tricky question.
German destroy tank called E100.
The KV-5, because it's the best tank in the game.
All medium tanks maybe my favorite.
You can be any tank you want.
I don't know, really. For me, enough tanks what we have already.
They want to take this advantage and take it home, and they're trading out evenly so far in the damage. Kusok needs to back away. Overstaying his welcome. Breakneck can get to the forefront, and there's the kill. Inspirer, not so inspiring.
Right now, our mission, vision, logo of the company is happy players. That's it. Happy players. That's all we do. How do we do it? Of course, new games. Of course, new platforms like tanks. First, they were released on the PC, and then players in America, for example, in some other Western countries like the UK, they don't play much on the computer. They play on, consoles, Xbox, PlayStation. We had to do it, and we released it on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, 360. Mobile is taking over the world, and there's a generation or two of actually people did not use computers at all, like my 8-year-old son. So we gave them World of Tanks Blitz, which you can play on iPad, on Google phone, Samsung, Galaxy. Everything's for you. And when it comes to a long-running game like World of Tanks, which is 6 years already, updates. We have done more than 60 updates, and each update is like a small game. So we if you look at the game 6 years ago and today, those are two different games. And of course, today the game is much better, with much more content, with better physics, better graphics, better effects, better connectivity, etc., etc.
Will be more new tanks, new physics, new sounds, everything new.
The explosive finale saw a grudge match showdown between the dominating and subsequently hot favourites Na'Vi and the returning champions Hellraisers, with both teams having almost polar opposite runs to the finale. The final matchup was an intense back and forth that culminated in a deadlock and a match point situation. It looked like Hellraisers were set to take it when disaster struck, with ace player Applewell falling prey to the aforementioned new physics engine and literally getting stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Applewell, who's stuck on the side of a cliff.
And like that, it was over, with Na'Vi taking the championship on the backs of cruel fate.
Trophy awaits for Na'Vi. The name means born to win. And now we will present you our 2016 Wargaming League World Champions.
Did you hear that we donated Sentinel to Australia? That's a part of this. I mean, there's only 2 or 3 of them in the world. We managed to get one of those and shipped straight down under, right? And you guys are happy. We're happy. We had good PR. Everybody's happy with that. It's a good tank.
It's a damn good tank.
Wargaming is more than just a video games company. The company also boasts an impressive special projects unit that works with non-profits and museums around the world. Last month, we got to see one of these special projects firsthand when we visited the Australian Armour and Artillery Museum in Cairns to get up and close and personal with the tank Victor mentioned, the Australian cruiser SE4, better known by its badass name, the Sentinel.
We feel the demand on this content from the community standpoint. We see that our players are really happy with this kind of projects because they're interested in it. They see the game, they command the tanks and warships in games, but they're also interested in something else. They want to broaden their experience, they want to experience something else beyond the game. That's why we provide them with content, with movies about the tank restoration, with virtual tours to tanks or to warships. So it's all like an ecosystem. People come to the game, they play the game, they want to know something else beyond the game.
The AC-1 Sentinel was the first and only tank to be designed and mass-produced in Australia. 65 of them were built in 1942 as a direct response to the war in Europe and the threat of a Japanese invasion. However, by the time it had been produced, Australia had already been provided a number of tanks from Britain and America, so it never actually saw the battlefront. That is until Wargaming picked it up.
When it comes to the AC-1 Sentinel returning to its home, it was discussed many times on our forums by community of why not to implement this tank in game, because we have 8 nations in World of Tanks, but still Australian tanks were missed. That's why when we acquired this tank from Jacques Littlefield back in 2014 and we're deciding where to move this tank to, one of our players in Australia told us that the new museum has opened here in Cairns, and we took that into consideration and thought that it would be really cool to take the Australian tank and not to place it somewhere, for example in North America, where it could have been much easier because we didn't need to move it through the from one continent to another continent. But still, we thought that it would be a great gesture to our Australian community to return this tank to Australia and to also introduce it into games so that Australians can play this tank. They can drive their own tank that was designed here by their grandfathers.
While the in-game tank is available for a limited time only in World of Tanks PC and World of Tanks Blitz, the AC-1 Sentinel is in Australia to stay. It's in the good hands at the Australian Armour and Artillery Museum, and it seems to be in good company as well.
The museum opened on the 6th of September 2014 after about a year or so of development of the museum. Since then we've added an extra 42 metres in length onto the museum, and we plan on adding another extension well into next year. Currently we have in all, including tanks and artillery, we have 115 on display at the moment, with about another 25 or 26 still to come in over the next 2 years. One of the notable pieces that we do have obviously is the AC-1 Sentinel, along with its the AC-4 Sentinel. We also have one of 2 working original Hetzers, so German tank destroyers, in the world still running. Okay, the amount of tanks that we have that are still running is about 60% at this stage. That number can become higher if some of the vehicles require minor mechanical work. So the Centurion that we have, which Australia used prior to Leopard, that vehicle just requires a new set of spark plugs and it'll fire up and run. But the main tank that I find that I do like is the Hetzer, so the German tank destroyer, mainly because it is in running condition and it's basically has it come off the production line in January, February of 1945.
It wasn't all smooth sailing bringing the Sentinel to Australia. First, the tank had to be literally brought down from the top of a hill in California before being packed up onto a boat and sent on the long trip down under. Even once it got to dry land, the travels weren't over.
It was very interesting when the tank arrived to Australia and the border control were very they wanted to control so that no grain, no seeds are transported to Australia in this tank. That's why partially it was disassembled to make sure that nothing like that was carried in the tank. So it was quite interesting, but still, regardless of those obstacles, we finally managed to bring it here to Cairns and it's now open to public.
If you happen to be in the far north Queensland and want to see a piece of Australian military history, the Australian Armour and Artillery Museum is open 7 days a week. Or if you're somewhere else in the world, the AC-1 Sentinel is now out as a premium Tier 4 medium tank in the British tech tree, but be quick, it's only available for a limited time.
And that's about it for this edition of Player Attack. Thanks for watching. Next week, we're spending just a little bit more time in Poland as Wargaming founder Victor Kisley waxes lyrical about Master of Orion. Mike dusts off his video game shoebox once again, and I chat to Kelly Hu, an actor whose roles vary from Lady Deathstrike in X-Men 2 to Devora the Bug Lady in Mortal Kombat X. In the meantime, you can catch us at playerattack.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, and if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, or just hop on our forums. Till next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.